Yes, students, welcome back. We were discussing about the adjusting entry in the previous lecture. We have discussed about the accrued expenses or the expenses payable, like electric bill or the salary or any other expense of the previous year that is paid in the next financial period. So here, now we will discuss about the prepaid expenses. Before starting the concept of the prepaid expenses, you should understand the meaning of the adjusting entry. So any entry or any transaction which has an effect on more than 1 year, so that is called as the adjusting entry, because when the financial year is ending, you have to segregate, you have to write that either it is related to this year and it may be affecting the next financial year also, so you have to make the adjustment for that. The next adjusting entry is the prepaid expenses, or what we can say, expenses paid in advance. Expenses paid in advance. What is the meaning of the paid in advance? For example, you have to pay the rent. Let's say, as we are saying here, the financial year is ending on 31st of December 2020. Let's say on the 1st of August 2020, you have paid a rent of 6 months in advance, and let's say the amount is $6,000 or just $600. Now on the 1st of August you have paid the amount, so it is for how many months? It is for the 6 months, and the total amount is how much? That is the 600. So you can say, or $100 per month, but you have paid $600 means the advance rent you have paid for how many months? For 6 months. Now we have to count that this rent is for the December, January, February, March, April, how many months? So first of all, we have to see that on which date it is paid. It is paid on the 1st of the August. So it is for the August, September, October, November, December and January. So it means the rent is for the 6 months. Almost 5 years are in the financial year of 2020 and 1 year is falling in the next financial year. So you can say like this, that for 2020 and for 2021. So out of the 600, if it is 100 per month, as you have calculated already, so $500 is the expense for this financial year, and $100 is the expense of the next month. So $500 is the expense for the current year, for 2020, but this $100 is the expense for the next year. So it means this transaction or this $600 has an effect on not on the 1 year, it has an effect on more than 1 year. So it means it needs an adjustment. So first of all, on the 1st of August 2020, when you will pay, the business will pay the rent, what will be the adjustment? Because you are paying the amount in advance, you are paying the cash, for example, or you are paying through the bank. So it is not expense for this year only, or the time period is not related to this year. This is also some period for this current year and some time period for the next financial year also. So that's why what we need to pay the rent. So it is called as the prepaid rent. Okay, prepaid rent debit. Prepaid rent expense debit will be 600, and the cash account or the bank account will be credited by 600. So we will write paid rent for 6 months. So almost for 6 months the rent is paid. Now on the 31st of December 2020, what is happening? You are recording the transaction, that how much the rent that you have paid, and it is also expensed expense means that out of this 600, $500 is the expense for which month or for the which year. This is the expense for 2020, and $100 is the expense for which year? 2021. So we have to segregate that 600 into the two portions, 500 for 2020 and 100 for 2021. In that case, what we have to write? We have to write the expense now only for this year. So the rent expense will be debit by 500, and the prepaid rent expense $500. So rent of 5 months adjusted. It means out of 6 months, the rent of the 5 months is adjusted. Here it was not written as an expense, it was written as what? As an prepaid expense. So prepaid expense means that will be asset. Asset of the company means that you have paid in the advance. So like you have the cash is the current asset, you have a receivable is the current asset. In the same way, you have the inventory is the current asset. So in the same way, you have the prepaid expense, that is the asset. So asset will be debited at that time, and then credited will be the cash. Now out of that 600, how much is the expense? You have received the services, you have paid the amount in advance, but now for 5 months you have received the services. Now expense will be debit and the prepaid rent will be credit. Now if we look at the accounts, in the accounts $500 will be written as an expense. So, and the prepaid has a balance of 600, and here it is credited with 500. So it means the balance will be $100 here, 600 here, 600 here, 100. A difference is there, so the balance is $100. So it is what? This is the asset. So asset is $100 on the 31st December. So the balance in this account will be written how? It will be written as the expense. And expense, where we write the expense? We write the expense in the income statement, or what we call a profit and loss account. And this $100, the amount which is not still used, means you have paid already but it is not still used, you have not received the services for that, so that will be written as the current asset. And current asset means what? That will be in the statement of financial position, or simply what we call the balance sheet. So out of $600 that is paid in advance, we have segregated on the final date when we are preparing the financial statements, when we are ending the year, the financial year is ending. 500 is written in the expense account because you have written this amount. And then the prepaid had a balance of $600. Now $500 you have credited, means you have reduced the prepaid. It means you have expensed it. And $100 is only available in the asset account. So that asset is what? That will be written in the current asset in the statement of financial position, or in the what we call a balance sheet. So this 600 has a two portion. One portion for this year, so which is expense. You have paid the money and also you have received the service, the rental service for 5 months. But $100 is still pending. You have paid the money but still not received the rental service. So it means that will be written in the current asset. So it is just like other assets, the current asset that you have to not to pay, but you have still received the services, so the amount is still like in your balance. So $100 is in the balance, so that will be considered as the asset of the business. So here we have $500 and the $100. So there are so many other examples of the prepaid. For example, you will be paying the bill, like a telephone bill, you are paying for the next 6 months, 7 months, and some of the portion is in the current year, in the current financial period, and the sum of the portion or the sum of the months in the next financial period. So again, what we have to do, we have to segregate that how much is the expense and how much is still a prepaid, or the amount which is still paid in advance, and the services you have not received. So in that case, what will happen? It will be written as an asset in the current asset. So that will be written in the statement of financial position, and the amount for which you have received the services, so that will be written as an expense in the profit and loss or the income statement. So this is how we are recording the expenses which are paid in advance, or what we call the prepaid expenses. Means the expenses for which we have paid the money but still 100% we have not received the services. So it will be segregated. For the current period, it will be written as an expense, and the remaining amount, the balance amount in the current asset, as an prepaid expense, or it will be written as the expenses paid in advance in the current asset.